Grace stood frozen in the doorway of the party room, still holding her little girl's hand. The banner on the wall screamed in bright blue and red letters, "Happy 7th birthday, Ryan."
Not Ella. Ryan.
Superhero plates lined the tables.
A big cake with a shield sat on the side.
An unfamiliar woman was arranging cupcakes and looked up with a polite smile.
"Hi. Are you the aunt?" she asked. Grace's throat closed.
Behind her, her mother's voice floated in, casual and light. "Oh good, you're here.
We thought you'd understand. Kelly's park booking fell through.
You already had a venue, so we just made it a joint party. Family shares, right?"
Grace looked down at her daughter.
Ella stood in her unicorn dress, eyes wide, fingers squeezing Grace's hand. "It's okay, Mum," Ella whispered, her voice too soft and too old at the same time. Maybe I can celebrate next year."
Something inside Grace cracked.
She was 34, a project manager, a single mother who had saved for 9 months for this day. And somehow, here she was again, watching her family take what belonged to her. Growing up, Grace had always been the strong one. She was the oldest child, the dependable one, the problem solver. When the internet stopped working, everyone shouted, "Grace, come fix this." When Dad's truck made a strange noise, he'd say, "Grace, can you help me look up a mechanic?" When Mom came up short on an electricity bill, she'd sigh and say, "I hate to ask, but you're the responsible one." Her younger sister, Kelly, lived a different life in the same house. Kelly was sensitive, fragile, special. If Kelly spilled her juice and started crying, Mom would run over, cooing, "Oh honey, it's okay, don't cry." If Grace scraped her knee and cried, Mom's voice turned sharp. "Stop making a scene, Grace.
You're fine.
You're the big girl." Even as a child, Grace understood the rule. Kelly's feelings were an emergency. Grace's feelings were an inconvenience. The difference showed up in small things that added up over time. Kelly had violin lessons every Thursday at 4. Come rain or shine, Mom or Dad drove her there. "We cannot miss her lesson," Dad would say. "She's talented. She needs support." Grace loved basketball. She had begged to join a local team. The first month, the fee was too much right now. The second month, Mom said, "Let's wait until things are better." The third month, Grace stopped asking. One afternoon, she overheard her parents at the dining table. "Kelly's violin payment is due," Mom said. "We'll find it," Dad answered. "She'll be devastated if she has to quit." Grace stood in the hallway, holding her worn-out sneakers, and understood quietly that her own dreams didn't cause that kind of urgency. She learned to lower her voice, lower her needs, and raise her usefulness. If she wanted to belong, she had to help, not ask. As an adult, that pattern turned into a lifestyle. Grace became the person everyone called when things went wrong. One night, her father phoned, sounding stressed. "Gracie, my truck broke down again. I just need a little help to fix it. I'll pay you back next month." He never did. When her aunt wanted to save money on phone bills, Mom said cheerfully, "Grace, you can add her to your plan. You're good with numbers. It's easier for you." When a cousin wanted an engagement party venue, Mom said, "Use Grace's discount. She works with events all the time. She can book it in a second." And she did. Again and again. "That's what family does," she told herself as she typed in her credit card number. "I have a steady job. It's only fair I help." Every time she gave, the approval came. "You're so generous, Grace. You're such a good daughter." Deep down, she hoped that if she kept helping, one day her needs might matter too. Kelly grew up and had a little boy named Ryan. By some twist of timing, Ryan and Ella ended up only a few days apart in age. 2 7-year-olds, 2 small birthdays, 2 very different expectations. Grace noticed quickly that her parents treated Ryan the same way they had always treated Kelly. "He's sensitive," Mom would say, rubbing his shoulders when he pouted. "He can't handle disappointment." If Ryan didn't get the toy he wanted, Dad would murmur, "We'll fix it, buddy. Don't cry." If Ella quietly stepped aside to let Ryan play, no one praised her. They just nodded like that was normal. At family dinners, presents came out for Ryan just because he had a hard week. Ella would clap for him and sit back, empty-handed. Once, in the car afterward, she asked softly, "Mom, is Ryan more special than me?" Grace's heart twisted. "No, baby," she said. You're both special. But deep inside, she could feel the old pattern wrapping itself around a new generation. 3 weeks before Ella's 7th birthday, Grace was at her desk at work, scrolling through project timelines, when her phone buzzed. Mom flashed across the screen.
Grace sighed and answered. "Hi, Mom."
"Hi, honey," Mom said in that sweet tone Grace knew too well. "I need to talk to you about something."
Grace stared at her computer.
"What's up?"
"It's about Kelly," Mom began.
"The park venue she booked for Ryan's party got cancelled.
Permit issue, total mess. And Ryan is just devastated." Grace could already feel where this was going. "That's too bad," she said carefully.
"He was so excited," Mom continued. "You know how sensitive he is. He's been crying all day."
Grace pinched the bridge of her nose.
"Mom, I already booked a place for Ella's party. Indoor play venue, bounce house, pizza, entertainer, the works.
It cost me $4,250.
I've been saving since January."
There was a long pause.
"That's wonderful, honey," Mom finally said.
Then her voice softened even more.
"You're so organized, Grace. You always have been.
It's one of your best qualities.
I know you'll make the right decision for the family." Grace pulled the phone away from her ear and stared at it after the call ended.
That was it. No direct question. No clear request.
Just that familiar line, "You'll make the right decision for the family." She knew exactly what it meant: give up, rearrange, sacrifice.
But she pushed the thought away and opened her email instead.
2 days later, a group message popped up on her phone.
It was from Mom and Kelly.
They had sent a Pinterest link. Grace tapped it and saw board after board of superhero party decorations, blue and red balloons, superhero plates, napkins with comic book words like BAM and POW, a big cake shaped like a hero's shield.
Her stomach sank.
"Looks so fun," Mom wrote. "Ideas for Ryan's big day."
Kelly added a stream of heart emojis.
Grace typed back, "Cool. See you Sunday at Ella's party." Kelly responded within seconds, "We wouldn't miss it." Grace stared at the winking emoji for a long time. Something was wrong, but she didn't know exactly what. So she did what she always did, went back to work and tried not to think about it.
The morning of Ella's birthday started out perfect.
Grace woke her daughter up with a soft whisper. "Happy birthday, sunshine." Ella sat up in bed with messy hair and a wide grin. "Is it today? My party is today."
"Yep," Grace said, laughing. "Today is all about you."
Ella slid off the bed and twirled into the unicorn dress she had chosen weeks ago.
"Do I look like magic?" she asked.
"You look like the most magical girl in the world," Grace replied. In the kitchen, they packed gift bags together, little toys, candy, and stickers, each bag tied with a purple ribbon. "Do you think Grandma and Grandpa will come?" Ella asked. "They said they would," Grace said, trying to sound confident. They loaded everything into the car: gift bags, a wrapped present from Grace, napkins, a camera. Ella chatted all the way to the venue.
"Do you think the bounce house will be pink? Can I go down the slide 10 times?
Will Dad be there when we sing?"
Grace smiled, her heart full.
Yes, yes, and yes. When they arrived at the venue, Grace parked and helped Ella climb out of the car, smoothing her unicorn dress. Ella grabbed one of the gift bags and hugged it to her chest. "I want to be the one to give these out," she said. "Of course," Grace answered. They walked down the hallway toward the reserved room, balloons from other parties bobbing in their peripheral vision. Grace's chest buzzed with nervous excitement. She reached for the door, pushed it open, then stopped.
The room was already decorated.
Not with unicorns and soft colors, but with loud superhero posters, blue and red balloons, and a huge banner that read, "Happy 7th birthday, Ryan." For a second, Grace thought she had walked into the wrong room. An unfamiliar woman placing cupcakes looked up and smiled.
"Hi. Are you Ryan's aunt?"
"You're early, but that's great. You can help me put out the favors." Grace's hand tightened around Ella's. Her mouth went dry. This is," she began, but the words tangled. Before Grace could say anything else, she heard heels clicking behind her. Mom's voice floated in, bright and cheerful. "Oh good, you're here."
She brushed past Grace like everything was normal and admired the banner.
"Doesn't it look great?"
"We thought you'd understand. Kelly's park got cancelled, and you already had such a nice room booked. So we made it a joint party."
"Family shares, right?" Kelly appeared behind her, carrying a big bag of superhero party favors.
She grinned at Grace. See? It all worked out. Mom said you wouldn't mind. Ryan cried all night when the park said no.
You know how sensitive he is. Grace stared at them, stunned. You decorated my room, she said slowly. The room I paid for. For Ella.
Kelly rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic.
They can celebrate together. 2 7-year-olds, 1 party. It's a win-win.
Mom nodded firmly.
You've always been so generous, Grace.
Don't change now. This is what families do.
We help each other. Grace felt Ella's little hand shaking in hers. She looked down and saw her daughter's face. Ella wasn't crying. She just looked confused, like someone had switched the script on her. Her unicorn dress suddenly looked out of place among the superhero decorations. Her eyes lingered on the banner, on the cake, on the shield design that wasn't for her. Mom, Ella whispered, barely audible. Is this still my party?
Grace swallowed hard. It was supposed to be, she said gently.
Ella looked at the banner again, then up at Grace. Her voice trembled, but her words were painfully calm.
It's okay, Mom.
Maybe we can celebrate my birthday next year.
Grace felt all the air leave her lungs.
A 7-year-old shouldn't know how to step aside. A 7-year-old shouldn't be comforting her mother about losing her own birthday. Inside Grace, something heavy and old snapped. She squeezed Ella's hand and turned around. Without another word, Grace walked out of the room, pulling Ella with her. Behind her, Mom called out sharply, Grace,
don't be childish. Come back here.
You're making a scene.
Kelly's voice followed, annoyed and mocking.
Seriously? Over decorations.
Grace didn't stop.
She kept walking down the hallway, past the other doors, past the bright posters advertising party packages. Ella hurried to keep up, little shoes tapping against the floor. In the lobby, Grace finally stopped.
Her hands were shaking. Ella looked up at her. Mom, are you mad at Grandma? She asked softly.
I'm mad at everyone who forgot this was your day, Grace said. Before she could decide what to do next, a man in a venue shirt walked over. His name tag read Darren.
Hi there, he said kindly. You're the hall party, right?
Is everything okay? Grace took a deep breath, feeling something new rise in her chest, something stronger than fear.
No, she said.
Everything is not okay. Darren's expression tightened with concern.
What happened? He asked gently. Grace steadied herself and spoke clearly.
I booked room B for my daughter's 7th birthday. I paid for everything, food, decorations, the entertainer, the bounce house.
My family arrived before me and took over the room.
They decorated it for my nephew without permission.
Darren blinked.
They, what? Grace opened her bag and handed him her printed confirmation. This is my contract.
He scanned it, eyebrows rising. Yes. This room is yours from 11 to 2.
No one else has the right to be in there unless you authorize them.
Grace exhaled shakily. I didn't. Darren nodded firmly.
Let me check something.
I'll be right back. He hurried off toward the office.
Ella leaned against Grace's side, quiet and small. Grace bent down and brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead. We're going to fix this, she whispered. This is still your birthday. Ella nodded, though her eyes looked heavy with confusion. Okay, Mom. Grace pulled out her phone and called her ex-husband, Mark.
He answered on the second ring. Hey, he said warmly.
I'm on my way. Almost there.
Grace swallowed hard.
Mark, there's a problem. She explained everything. The decorations, the banner, the stolen space, the way Ella had whispered that maybe she could celebrate next year. Mark was silent for a moment, then said tightly, Are you telling me they hijacked the party you paid for? Yes, Grace breathed. They've taken over the whole room. I'm coming now, Mark said, voice low and angry. Don't let them push you around, Grace.
I mean it.
She felt a rush of relief.
Thank you.
Always, he said, and hung up.
Grace looked down at Ella again.
Dad's coming, she said softly. Ella smiled a little, though the sadness still lingered in her expression. Grace hugged her close until Darren returned. Darren walked back toward them carrying a folder.
Mrs. Hall, he said firmly. I checked everything. Legally, the room is yours.
No one else has any right to use it, decorate it, or host an event in it unless you signed off on it.
And you didn't. Grace nodded.
Then please help me clear the room.
Darren hesitated.
I can assist, but you may want to speak with your family first.
Grace straightened.
I intend to.
She took Ella's hand and walked back toward the room with a renewed sense of purpose.
When she stepped inside, her mother looked up from a conversation with the cupcake woman.
Good, Mom said. You've calmed down.
Now come help arrange the tables.
Grace took a breath and said in a calm, steady voice, take everything down. All of it. This is not Ryan's party.
This is Ella's party.
Kelly stared at her like she'd spoken in another language. You're joking, she said.
Grace, stop making a big deal out of nothing.
I'm not joking, Grace said. Take the decorations down. Now. Kelly put her hands on her hips. Oh my God. You're unbelievable. Ryan is already on his way. His friends are coming. What do you expect us to do?
Cancel everything.
Yes, Grace said.
Cancel everything you planned on my dime.
Mom stepped forward with that soft, scolding tone she always used. Honey, you've always been so generous. Don't change now.
This is what families do. We share.
Grace pulled her arm back when her mother tried to touch her. Sharing is when someone asks first. You didn't ask.
You took.
The room went tense and quiet. Kelly scoffed loudly.
You're embarrassing yourself.
No, Grace replied. I'm setting a boundary. Darren stepped in then, holding the contract open. Mrs. Hall is correct, he said. This entire space is reserved under her name and her payment.
Anything set up without her permission will need to be removed.
Kelly turned red. Are you kidding me? She snapped.
In front of him.
Grace looked her sister dead in the eye.
You did this in front of my daughter.
Ella, still holding Grace's hand, looked down at her sparkly shoes. Grace squeezed her small fingers gently, feeling that protective fire rising again. Mom tried once more. Grace, honey, look at Ryan's situation. He's sensitive. He cried all morning.
He can't handle disappointment like other kids.
Grace's voice sharpened. Stop calling it sensitivity. It's entitlement. Just like when we were kids. Kelly gasped like she'd been slapped. How dare you? Enough, Grace said. Remove the decorations. I'm reclaiming the room I paid for. Kelly shook her head. We're not moving anything.
Do what you want.
Grace inhaled deeply. Okay, she said.
Then I'll cancel everything.
You wouldn't, Kelly whispered. Watch me, Grace answered. Without another word, Grace turned to Darren.
I need the full service package cancelled. The food, the entertainer, the bounce house, everything.
Darren nodded. Of course. I'll start the process now. Grace took out her phone and dialed her bank. Kelly's face twisted.
What are you doing?
Grace ignored her. Hi, she said into the phone. I need to dispute a charge.
Someone used my card without authorization to book services I didn't approve.
You can't be serious. Kelly cried. Mom's voice turned sharp.
Grace, stop this nonsense right now.
Grace continued giving the bank representative the information calmly. When she hung up, she looked straight at her mother and sister. You used my money. You used my venue. You made decisions without me.
Now you can live with the consequences.
Kelly's eyes were wide with panic. What are we supposed to tell everyone?
Ryan is expecting a party.
Then you should have thought about that before stealing mine, Grace said. Grace took Ella's hand and walked out of the room for the second time, this time with her head held high. Ella looked up at her.
Mom, are we still having a birthday?
Yes, Grace said firmly.
A real one.
They drove to the nearby park, the one with the big yellow slide that Ella always ran to. The sky was bright, and families were out on blankets and picnic tables. Grace found a spot under a shady tree and sat down with Ella. I'm sorry your party got messed up, she said quietly. Ella leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. It's okay. Grace shook her head. No, it's not. But I promise we'll make today special. Moments later, Mark arrived carrying a small grocery bag. Hey, birthday girl, he said, kneeling beside Ella. I brought snacks and cupcakes. How about a park party instead? Ella's face brightened. Really? Really, Mark said. They sang Happy Birthday on a park bench, completely off-key. Ella giggled through the whole song. Grace laughed, too, laughs that felt shaky but real. They ate store cupcakes with pink frosting that stained everyone's fingers. Mark handed Ella a small unicorn Lego set. "This is just a warm-up gift," he said. "We'll give you the big one when things settle down." Ella opened it right away and began building it carefully on the bench. She put the wings on backwards, proudly showing them off. "It's perfect," Grace said, kissing her forehead. While Ella played, Grace's phone buzzed non-stop on the bench beside her. Missed calls. Missed calls. More missed calls. Mark glanced at the notifications. "Your family." "Yes." "Ignore it," he said. Grace nodded. For the first time in years, she chose silence. By mid-afternoon, the notifications on Grace's phone had reached over 70 missed calls. Finally, she opened the group chat. Message after message blamed her. Mom wrote, "I can't believe you did this to your sister." Kelly added, "Ryan cried for an hour. You ruined everything." An aunt chimed in, "Kids come first, Grace. You should have shared." A cousin wrote, "You always get like this when you're stressed." Her father finally added, "Apologize to your family and pay the bill." Grace scrolled through all of it. Not one message asked if Ella was okay. Not one acknowledged that it was supposed to be her day. Her chest tightened, but not with doubt, this time with clarity. She looked at Ella laughing with Mark by the slide and realized this was the only person whose birthday mattered. At 5:20 p.m., Darren texted, "All services cancelled. Refund will be issued in 3 to 5 business days." Grace showed the text to Mark. He nodded. "Good. That's how it should be." Grace sat on the bench, breathing slowly as the sun dipped lower. For the first time in a long time, she felt free. Not happy exactly, not yet, but free. They stayed at the park until evening. Mark took Ella for ice cream while Grace drove home, letting the quiet fill the car. She expected guilt. Instead, there was only relief. She'd protected her daughter. She'd protected herself. And she wasn't done yet. When Grace arrived home, she sat in her car for a long moment before going inside. Her phone vibrated non-stop in her bag, but she didn't reach for it. She finally walked up to her apartment, changed into comfortable clothes, and sat quietly on the couch. At 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. She checked the peephole. Her mother stood on the other side, arms crossed, expression tight. Grace opened the door but kept the chain in place. "We need to talk," Mom said. Grace rested a hand on the doorframe. "Then talk." Her mother frowned. "Not like this." "Let me in." Grace shook her head. "No. You can talk from there." Her mother sighed dramatically. "I don't know who you've become. You used to be kind. Generous. Now look at you, acting like a stranger." Grace kept her voice steady. "I'm still generous. I'm just not letting you use me anymore." Her mother's voice sharpened. Kelly was overwhelmed. She had nowhere to go, and Ryan can't handle disappointment. "You could have helped. That's what family does." Grace felt anger rise but kept calm. "Family asks. Family doesn't steal." "You didn't ask me to share, you took everything I paid for and expected me to be quiet." Her mother bristled. "Don't use words like steal. We're your family." "Then act like it," Grace said. "You've taught Ryan the same thing you taught Kelly, that the world bends around them. That their feelings matter more than everyone else's. And you expect Ella to step aside the way I did my whole life." Her mother paused, expression cracking for just a moment. "Do you think I'm a bad grandmother?" Grace sighed. "No. I think you love Ella. But I don't think you respect her. And I don't think you respect me." Her mother looked down. "So what do you want?" Grace answered quietly, "Boundaries." Her mother stiffened. "You're choosing a kid's birthday party over your family." "No," Grace said. "I'm choosing my daughter over your entitlement." Her mother stared at her through the small opening in the door, stunned into silence, then finally whispered, "You'll regret this." She turned and walked away. Grace closed the door and locked it. She slid down to the floor and breathed out shakily. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. She checked the family group chat. Her mother had sent a picture of their living room arranged in a circle of chairs, like a courtroom. The caption said, "Your choice." Then another message, "If you won't come to family events, don't expect us at yours." Grace stared at the screen, let out a long breath, and turned her phone off. The next day at 4 p.m., while her family held their meeting, Grace stayed home and watched movies with Ella, their legs tucked under one blanket.
It was peaceful, something she'd rarely experienced with them. In the weeks that followed, Grace began rebuilding her life piece by piece. She opened a savings account for Ella's future and set up automatic transfers, money she used to send her parents, her sister, or her cousins. She put a list on the refrigerator titled "Things We Can Afford Now That We Don't Pay Everyone Else's Bills." Ella decorated the edges with stickers. Grace called her friend Jade, someone she'd cancelled on too many times, and planned a picnic with her kids. She blocked her mother on payment apps, removed family members from her phone plan, and unfollowed Kelly on social media. One afternoon, a simple card came in the mail: family shares. Don't be a stranger. No apology. No accountability. Just entitlement wrapped in handwriting. Grace tucked the card into her desk drawer and closed it without a second thought. Soon after, she started therapy. Her therapist, Dr. Milton, listened gently and said, "Grace, you were taught that your worth depended on what you could give. But you're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to keep what is yours." Over the next 2 months, things shifted, slowly but beautifully. Grace felt lighter. She woke up without dread. She had money left at the end of each month. She laughed more. She cooked with Ella, read her stories, and took her on playdates instead of running errands for relatives. One evening, while stirring pasta sauce, Ella looked up and said softly, "Mommy, you smile a lot now." Grace paused, heart warming. "Do I?" "Yeah," Ella nodded. "You used to look tired. Now you look happy." Grace hugged her daughter tightly. "I am happy," she whispered, "because we're choosing us. Just the two of them, steady, peaceful, and finally free." And if her family never understood why she walked away, that was their loss. Grace knew the truth. She didn't choose a birthday party over her family. She chose to stop sacrificing her daughter, and herself, to people who only loved her when she was useful. In choosing boundaries, she chose love. Real love. And that changed everything. Tell us where you are watching from today. Hit like and subscribe to the channel for more.